Om Tat Sat. My humble prostrations to the all-pervading Brahman, to my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, to sage Narada, and all other sages and saints, and to each of you divine soul watching today's satsang. We are covering Narada Bhakti Sutras. We are on chapter number 3, and today we will be starting sutra number 55. Commentaries by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmananda, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So let's get started. Sutra number 55, chapter number 3, which is about primary and secondary devotion. Mukhya and Gaun Bhakti in Hindi. So the sutra is Tat Prapya Tadevav Lokayati Tadeva Shrunoti Tadeva Bhashayati Tadeva Chintayati. Again, Tat Prapya Tadevavalokayati Tadeva Shrunoti Tadeva Bhashayati Tadeva Chintatyati. So, meaning, having attained that divine love, the devotee sees the same, hears the same, speaks of the same, and thinks of the same. Same being what? That energy, that divine, that same one God, which means you enjoy that one principle. So instead of multiplicity, now you are going to that one journey, one goal. So we will be covering the sutra also in 2 parts, today and tomorrow, because the sutra is very profound and we want us to get the deeper meanings from these things. So, this world is seen as other than the divine self by the mind overpowered by ignorance. Because when we have avidya or ignorance, the world seems very, very real, and the God and the divine spirituality seems like a far away object. People don't understand it very well. The light of the self is refracted by the prism of the mind into the multicolored objects of the world. We had covered this in the previous sutra. Divine love, which is the intrinsic reality of every soul, becomes refracted into numerous desires for the objects of the world. So these people, instead of looking at the source of the light, are looking at the refracted rays of the light, and they are running after those different names and forms and different objects. Just like there's only one sun, but when its rays come and fall on different pools of water, depending on how that water is, if it's dirty or clean or small or large, it will be refracted that way. So that becomes the reality of that particular lake or that particular puddle, and that's what most people in this world are experiencing. They are looking at that reflection of the sun and not the sun itself. And that is the journey for people following divine love, to get away from the refractions and go to the source. But when a devotee practices the disciplines enjoined in the sutras, as we had said before, sutras 46 to 49 that sage Narada has recommended us, if you can review those are the ones that we need to build upon for us to develop intense parabhakti. So the shining light of divine love lifts the veil of illusion from his view. So when we do that, the illusion is removed. Again, jnana path has the same exact thoughts, but except this is bhakti, we are doing it with devotion and love. There we are doing it with rational understanding. Just like in your brain, you have the right side and the left side, and there's a faculty that is more logic oriented and the other one that's more art oriented, but they both can accomplish the same end results in different ways. So then his ego is no longer caught in the realm of the ego sense. That is the focus, and endowed with the divine vision of the divine love, he sees nothing but the divine self, underlying all names and forms. So when the bhakta, devotee, reaches that high experience, he is not seeing the names and forms, he is seeing that divine energy only. A devotee sees his divine beloved, and it can be anything that you choose as your deity. It can be Krishna, Rama, Devi, Buddha, Hanumanji, anything that you are attracted to, that you have selected as your Ishta Devata. Ishta Devata means a deity that you can relate to. And then you see that deity everywhere. His beauty is seen in the sky, his laughter in the thundering clouds, his bliss in the surging ocean, his flute in the soft breeze, his face in the shining sun. You see and feel that. His smile in the cooling moon, his inspiring touch behind every experience of pleasure and pain, and his hand behind all happenings in the world. In other words, we are connected to that one energy, and we see no difference. We see that as the creator of every experience that we are experiencing. And that is um, it is this comes easier to people who have given their heart to somebody, who have loved somebody intensely. And then you know what we are talking about here, because when you had that feeling of intense love towards your beloved, you thought about him day and night, even while cooking or while doing homework. That thought would come up, and you would just be totally mesmerized. And eventually, but the worldly thoughts fade away. That love, that is worldly love, and then it eventually goes away. But for divine love, you can imagine how deep that goes, because it is settled within you. He is the very essence of your being. So when we feel that touch, and we get transformed. But even Sage Narada has said special receptacles. We had covered that in the previous sutra. So we have to become worthy of that divine love. Otherwise, it will not happen automatically. See, that is the essence. For one not advanced on the path of devotion, the divine beloved plays hide and seek. In moments of sattva or purity, the vision of divine love becomes clearer. We feel peaceful, we feel good. And yet, when one is overpowered by rajas and tamas, which are inertia and activity, the glorious vision becomes confused and lost, and the devotee's mind becomes too restless to recapture it. So then it is gone from the vision, and we have to earn it back slowly by increasing our sattva again. So, for a perfected devotee, however, this game of hide and seek has ceased. The devotee has attained purity, has attained perfection. So, where can Lord hide? He cannot. The light is there within you. The divinity cannot hide from him any longer. So, thus, the Maya, or the cosmic illusion, which has hidden the divinity for so long, is now destroyed. So there is nothing more to hide. But that is the state of a bhakta, or a devotee who has reached that stage. This is not Gauna, this is para bhakti, this is mukhya bhakti, this is not a gauna bhakti, which means this is not secondary, this is a primary state. So therefore we have to elevate ourselves, but in order to get to the primary, we first have to go through the secondary stages. So we will be covering part number 2 tomorrow. Om Tat Sat.